Welcome to another exciting session of Business Central Essentials with Onpoint. And I remain your boy, Okechukwu. And joining me here is Stephen from Onpoint.
Hello, hi, Choco.
Hi, Steve. Welcome to another great session. We are glad to have you here. And today we'll be looking at some amazing features of Business Central, in particular, currency. So we want to actually know what is the relevance of currency when it comes to Business Central.
Very good. So currencies is something which is common to every industry, every company, and every country practically. So currencies are relevant because they form part and parcel of every transaction that the business goes through. So it could be a normal sales transaction, it could be a purchase transaction, it could be even payroll. So currencies are truly relevant because we need to ensure that we record every transaction in its original form, and currencies form a key part of this form.
Thanks for that response, Steve. So I have a couple of associates of mine. We have a couple of businesses here that are still in tune with the Excel spreadsheet. So they want to know what are the benefit of the ERP over the Excel spreadsheet.
So let's make it clear. We love Excel. Um, we can never replace the Excel as a key fundamental tool within the accounting department. However, even though the Excel provides good results, and ultimately we want to achieve the same results that Excel provides us with, at the same time we need to be aware that obviously there are some inherent risks in using Excel, especially as transactions get more and more complex. And that's where an ERP system come into play, because through ERP system, we actually are automating a number of features, a number of transactions, a number of calculations, which which are triggered, for example, because of foreign currencies. And that's why ERPs are so important. So by no way are we actually disregarding Excel, but it's more like using Excel for some doc calculations, for some one-offs, for some concept explanations. However, when it comes to automations, then it's the ERP which has the strong hand because of its automations, so its security and control and checks.
Yeah, that's nice. Automation are very important, and we could see the clear differences. We also want to know when it comes to exchange rates. We have companies dealing with different exchange rates in Africa. We also have people dealing with different exchange rates overseas. So, how does exchange rate come to play when it comes to ERP?
So let's make it clear because you mentioned well, correctly Africa. However, like we tend to forget that, for example, even within the European Union, where most of the countries are actually transacting with euro, so we're speaking of the eurozone area, still we're not working in a silo. So we still have foreign partners, still have foreign employees, foreign customers, and when I say foreign, I mean out of the eurozone area. So in truth, it's not just countries where there is a mix of currencies, but also like other countries, which even though they are working within a bloc, they still need to look into the exchange rate because of other foreign transactions. We shouldn't forget, for example, a group of companies who perhaps are operating internationally and therefore within different continents and different currencies. So exchange rates come into play. They are a crucial feature because it's not just about recording your transaction in naira, in cedis, or perhaps in sterling or dollar. It's not about that, but it's about translating the actual value of that currency in your own base currency. And obviously,
Okay.
exchange rates fluctuate like on a daily basis, though the fluctuations are not that huge for certain currencies. However, that we are very well aware that, for example, cryptocurrencies they fluctuate a lot. So, truly, what is important is that exchange rates are recorded on a daily basis at minimum, and we need to be very precise because small fluctuations, especially when numbers are big, actually can lead to quite a different view of the same transaction.
Well understood. So, like you said, we had different exchange rates with different currencies when it comes to Africa. But what about continents like Europe, where they use a unified currency? Is this also relevant to such continents?
So yeah, so as we already mentioned, like obviously we have different suppliers, different customers, but we also have international group of companies that we need to report to. So like let's give an example. Let's say we have a company in Malta and another one in Nigeria and another one in Ghana perhaps. So let's
Yeah.
say all of them has done 1 million in sales, each company. However, what does 1 million euro translate to? And what does 1 million naira translate to? And what does 1 million cities translate to? So we need to have one base currency that we report it with. So in order to compare the companies between them, in order to actually understand the performance of each one, and then have a truly aggregate picture of all the companies, wherever they are, whatever their base currency, we need to have one single currency. And that's one other key feature. So speaking about consolidation here, where currencies are very important. So once again, whatever your continent, wherever you are established, it doesn't really matter. At the end of the day, we always need to make sure that we record all transactions in the original currency.
Okay, so we have a couple of businesses that are actually curious to know, um, is currency just limited to just customers and vendors buying and selling and all, or is there more to that? So they are actually curious over here.
So obviously, customers and vendors play a very crucial role because, like, obviously, like they are key players within our business ecosystem. However, having said that, let's not forget banks, for example, because obviously, as a company, we may potentially have banks in foreign currencies, and therefore we need to report that within the original foreign currency. But then there are other stuff which fall within the ecosystem. So, for example, the most important ones are definitely fixed assets and also inventory. So we need to buy stuff from other suppliers. Other suppliers may be transacting in different currencies. So we need to make sure that we record that transaction in its original currency, which ultimately it boils down to having the proper cost value of that asset or that fixed asset. So through the whole ecosystem actually comes into play. However, like customers and vendors have a default currency, but we must also point out that in Business Central, we are allowed to change the default currency on a transaction basis. So for example, I can have a company whose default currency is US dollars. So in most cases, I transact in US dollars. However, because it has a European warehouse, and sometimes I get goods from this European warehouse, sometimes it invoices me in euro. So we have that level of flexibility. So we have a default currency, which is like the most commonly currency used with that entity, being a customer or supplier. But then we have also the flexibility of changing the currency on a transactional basis.
Oh, that's great. We have a lot to cover actually, but you've actually given us more
With the
insight when it comes to currency and also business central and ERP. So I don't know whether you have any other session. We can't cover everything obviously today, but we also have subsequent few sessions. Was there anything else you want us to keep in mind, or is there any other thing you want to just add before we call it a wrap?
Well, there are many stuff that we need to not just touch base, but we delve into more details, such as the intercompanies, such as consolidations we have already mentioned, such as like the revaluation of currencies at month end, but also the automation of the input of exchange rates in our system, because I really we don't want the user to input exchange rates themselves, but we want the system like to be fed with the exchange rates and use the latest exchange rate. So there's a lot which come into play. Currencies are complex, but at the same time, it's so common, it's so daily, it's so equal to everyone, whatever the size of the company, whatever the location, wherever the location you are, whoever you are, that it's important that we actually sort of like get get to delve into more detail in these several aspects. So currencies are truly like a big ecosystem on their own.
Been a great time with you, Steven. Thanks for joining us. Do have a great day.
Thanks. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.